Welcome back to the shooting channel. So today we are going to do a film about cheap gun versus expensive gun. There's lots of inexpensive guns on the market, from 100 to £300–400. You have got classic double, you've got Resinis, you've got Lambers, you've got Fierce, you've got all sorts of different guns. Okay, Resini Bs, they're trying to promote themselves as quite a dirt market. They are a budget gun. They are £250 gun. So all these Resinis you see out there, they're trying to promote themselves up. You can't knock them. So with Resini, a classic double, you can't knock them for what they are. They're a £250 gun. And they're a great starter gun if somebody hasn't got a great deal of money. But I just wanted to show you what an expensive gun had and what a cheap gun has. So I'm going to look at the rack, and I've picked the new Maruku High Pheasant, I've picked the Browning Pro Sport, and I've picked the Browning XS. And one of my favourite budget guns, I know we've said a lot about Resinis because Resini are trying to promote themselves as a top-end gun manufacturer, and they're not. They're a cheap gun manufacturer. But I've also got a classic double. Now, classic doubles used to be a really, really good little gun. They basically came out of the back of Winchester, that sort of thing. But they are a cheap gun. This one is £199. So you can't knock it for what it is. But if you look at that and you handle that compared to a £3,500, £4,000 gun XS, it's chalk and cheese. Or then you've got the Pro Sport, or then you've got the Maruku High Pheasant. So the biggest thing that these have is the recoil. So a modern gun these days, they have a recoil reducers within the stock. So when you pull the trigger, they barely give any recoil at all. This has got a real hard pad here. It's safety catch, it's got selective safety catch, but generally it's quite manual, it's quite farmerish, it's quite agricultural. It hasn't got ventilated barrels, it's got a ventilated rib, it's got multi-choke, but generally it's built a bit like a tractor. It's built to basically survive, be treated like dirt, all sorts of things like that. Then you've got the XS Browning. Again, it's got a proper recoil on the pad. This is what you pay that extra money for. You've got the adjustable comb, you've got the recoil. In this particular model, you have stock weights, you have barrel weights, you have extra chokes, you've got internal chokes, external chokes, ventilated barrels, ventilated ribs. So it's built, and it's built for the balance of the gun. And that is really where you're looking at. The actual gun, if you look at all three of those guns, they've got a stock, they've got a trigger, they've got a barrel. They're all the same. But it's when you actually come to shoot them that you find out. And this is where I say, when you buy a gun, when you have a gun, go to a shooting school, and this is where you will find out. Set yourself a budget of what you want to spend on a gun. Because there is nothing wrong with spending £199 on a gun. There's nothing wrong with spending £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 on a gun. But you've got to buy the gun that you want for that. And this is why I wanted to have cheap versus expensive. Because everyone thinks, yeah, these three guns beat that. That can still do the same job as that. But it just hasn't got the recoil system, hasn't got the balance weights, hasn't got all that sort of thing in it. So this is where you need to be thinking, what do I want to buy? How much money do I want to spend? What do I buy? What do I want to buy it for? If you just want to buy a gun for bunny bashing or going out shooting a few pigeons, then something like that is absolutely spot on. If you want to buy a gun to win the World Championships or the Olympic Games, then you need to be looking at something like that. So again, this is where ask the experts, go to a shooting school, find out about the guns, find out what they are. I'm just going to shoot, so I'm going to shoot my budget gun, and then I'm going to go up and we're just going to have a talk about each one going through. So I've got my classic double, ball, ball, so that's my classic double, and as you see, I hit the clays with this as well. Couldn't fault it hitting wise, absolutely smoked it. But my biggest thing I felt is it was a bit clunky when I held it up. It didn't really balance. It recoiled a lot more. So it shot the clays well, but it just didn't have that finer details to it. So now I'm going to put this down. I'm going to pick the XS up. The XS is Browning's top of the range clay gun. Differences: recoil reducer, balance weights, barrel weights, external chokes. But then this is, as opposed to the budget gun was £199, this is £3.5 to £3.7. Pull. Pull. So that is my XS. Again, when it went off, I could barely feel it. The whole balance of the gun just worked. Put it into my shoulder, the whole thing just went with it. It was effortless. So that's the difference with the XS. Now I'm going to look at the Pro Sport. Again, a Pro Sport is a slightly different gun because it's built a lot heavier, a lot bigger. My personal preference out of the two of the XS and the Pro Sport is the XS. This is built, if you're quite a big, chocky bloke, this will probably suit you slightly better than the XS. Pull. Pull. Again, still hit them, so I've hit all three of them. But again, just the balance, the weight, the recoil with Jill, that's the difference between them. Then I've got a game gun. This is the Maruku. Again, slightly lighter, but more balanced. Still balanced. Game gun, narrow rib. So, still a good gun, but this is designed for game shooting. Pull. 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 And that was the Maruku, different to the Sporters, slightly lighter, but still a well-balanced gun. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through each one of them and we're going to take the gun apart. And we're just going to see how different the guns are made compared to each other. If I take the fore end off this, now again you look in there. Machine made engraving, very bog standard engraving, put together on a machine, put together as cheaply as you possibly can. Buck plate, just a piece of rubber. Trigger, not movable, doesn't do anything. It's a great gun, but it's put together as a price. Then if you look at the XS, recoil pad, a proper recoil pad, so that's where some of the money's gone into. Adjustable comb, barrel weights. If I take this off, you can put stock barrel weights in there. Chokes. Again, in the box, these come external and internal. Nicer wood, adjustable trigger. The game gun, engraving. Pad, again, not just a pad stuck on the end. They've actually got a proper recoil pad. Trigger. So again, if I put these two side by side, so the recoil pad is a proper recoil pad, whereas this one is just a piece of rubber stuck on the end. triggers, again, you can see them both side by side there. That is attachable. That goes up, down, left, back to front. This is purely just put on there. Again, if I put them both like that, safety catches, again, very cheap way of making a safety catch. That everything's gone into it. Adjustable comb. So again, a lot of the expensive guns come with an adjustable comb, up, down, left, right. The cheaper ones, they don't. They just come normal. But again, if you look at both of them, you can't knock either of them. I still killed as many with this as I did with that. But I wouldn't choose to go and shoot a competition with something like this. But if I was going out to shoot bunny bash and I only had £199 to spend, I'd buy one of these straight away. And most decent shooting schools have got lots of these budget guns. As I said, lots of various different makes. And that is really my cheap versus expensive gun. So I'm not knocking the cheap gun, I'm not knocking the expensive gun, but I'm just trying to identify the different bits that each one has got that you're paying your money for. So on a cheap gun like this, everything is built to a price. On an expensive gun, it's built to make you shoot better. So that was my cheap versus expensive guns. I hope you enjoyed this programme. Please like and subscribe, and please comment on anything you'd like to know about these guns. It really helps us for you to hit that subscribe button. So please tell everyone about the shooting channel, and please like and subscribe. The more people we can get, the better it makes it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.